As awesome as Durthu is, he should pretty much never be taken against the Chaos Dwarfs, right? They just have too much fire damage and everything else. No one told Flying Taco, and he's going to be taking Durthu against the Chaos Dwarfs today out in this open field battle, and let's see how he can make it work. Of course, Durthu, weak to fire damage, is a pretty decent single entity, up to 80 melee attack with his branch buddy, buffing him up with that Call to Woods and Frenzy active, so definitely looking very scary. The rest of the build is going to be a lot of skirmish forces. We can see already the Sorcerer Prophet under fire from a couple of Way Watchers. Their elite armor-piercing, high-accuracy bows should be very good here. We've got a Way Stalker as well, some Glade Riders with spears, some Eternal Guards as well mixed in here, single War Dancer, and a couple of Swift Shiver Shards for more chaff-clearing potential, and Glade Riders with spears. Opposing them, two Death Shrieker rocket launchers, which both deal flaming and magical damage. Anti-large should be very good against Durthu. We've got plenty of Goblin Laborers, got some Chaos Dwarf Warriors. We've even got 3 Fire Glaives, so more elite armor-piercing fire damage, shooting, and some regular Dwarf Warriors. Looks like the Granite Guard Blunderbuss is mixed in there as well. So we're going to get things underway, and Durthu is immediately going to be under fire from the rockets. So Flying Taco is going to put Durthu here amongst his people in the trees and take advantage of his ability to hide. Of course, treemen are somewhat unique in their ability to hide for large monsters, and especially with the trees not only interrupting line of sight, actually blocking projectiles, potentially providing the hidden buff as well, so that the the artillery can't actually target him. But anyway, as it is right now, we've got some Zotes here as well. They're going to be a nice high-value target for the rocket launchers to shoot at, but in taking a minute to assess kind of threats to the army, right? Certainly Durthu's biggest threats are the Death Shriek rocket launchers, secondary is the Fire Glaives. So from Flying Taco's perspective, he needs to prioritize taking those units out. Now, from the flip side, the Chaos Dwarfs need to prioritize protecting those units and kind of sacrificing everything to that effect. Likewise, they also don't want to spend the ammunition of the Death Shrieker rockets on things that don't end up mattering all that much, but one Death Shrieker already has taken significant damage here as the Way Watcher's been focusing with his bow and with the arrows of Kurnos there, just doing massive damage to that Death Shrieker. Still not enough to break his leadership, but notice also how Flying Taco is going to pull up in range and just unload with these Way Watchers into the Granite Guards, and then kind of pull back before the Blunderbusses can get in range to support with the counterfire. So it's a very patient advance, and he is definitely taking some losses in various sectors here. These Eternal Guard and Deepwood Scouts get a little bit caught up. The Fire Glaives have decently long range. Certainly is enough to put out some hurt, but then it also exposes them to direct fire from the Deepwood Scouts, and this is a pretty cost-effective trade right now for Flying Taco. But the War Dancers come forward under fire. Again, the scatter shot of the rockets being used on them. Any shot that hits anything that's not Durthu is honestly good for Flying Taco, because those are so dangerous to Durthu himself. And yeah, the thing is, though, if Durthu survives into the late game, and the Death Shriekers don't have a lot of ammunition left, or the Fire Glaives, get too worn down, he could be a significant force to be reckoned with, but not yet. You can see Flying Taco tries to come forward here and immediately is pushed back by that armor-piercing flaming gunfire. On the other side, we've got the charge of the Zotes underway. We also had these the Glade Riders charge in there, trying to shut down these Granite Guards. The return fire, you can see from their HP, has been significant. I do kind of like their little ROR pickaxes. You don't see that pickaxe on a lot of other units, but they're definitely going to get overwhelmed here, even as the Blade Riders kind of get pushed back. Granite Guards are definitely taking some damage, although more Chaos Dwarf Warriors are kind of filtering forward, sensing that they need to try and pressure some of the missiles of the Wood Elves. We do have these Eternal Guards moving in to shut down those Fire Glaives, so Flying Taco being very conscious about when and where he uses his light cavalry, understanding that with how squishy they are, as we saw here, they are likely to get routed off and be fairly ineffective after first deployed, but still can definitely contribute very well to this battle when used in a very skillful way. You can see here also interrupting this unit of Infernal Guards The Eternal Guards getting in, fighting the Infernal Guards. And we've also got some Swift Shivers flying in here. The War Dancers, a few that remain. Try and get in on this fight. Rockets landing point blank. Maybe doing some friendly fire damage as the warriors kind of collapse from both sides. Should be able to stop this Wood Elf advance. But it's all about just delaying and getting time and space for the archers to get their work done. Meanwhile, the Sorcerer Prophet's moved over. He's going to use his Flare Pistol to just try and plink at Durthu. Or no, he's actually not going to shoot Durthu. Or yes, he is going to shoot Durthu with Fireball there. But Durthu's got his Branch Bro here for Earthblood. Branch Bro's kiting back a full unit of Chaos Dwarfs, so finally Durthu will get a little bit of melee combat action. But at this point, he's just being used more or less as a giant distraction piece. He's soaking up a lot of value and tanking damage from these various threats right now, which is, again, just allowing these other units opportunities to operate. So even though I said the Death Shrieker should be focusing on Durthu the whole time, it also, I mean, alternately, you could switch to the Scatter Shot and really just try and burst down those archers. If you're talking, again, about sort of the threat assessment, if you think about from the Chaos Dwarf's perspective, Durthu's not particularly threatening. You have quite a few tools that can deal with him as long as you protect him, as I mentioned earlier, which the Chaos Dwarfs have had a little bit of a hard time doing, but they still have some Fire Glaives online. This one Death Shrieker, super low health, is still, you know, able to operate at full capacity more or less because it's a single entity. But yeah, those archers are definitely still threatening. These two Way Watchers, too, just stalked, kind of sitting here, inactive for a moment, but soon will be getting active, trying to finish off these Granite Guards. Not using their ammunition on unnecessary targets, like really only focusing on the missile units here. And the Deepwood Scouts even being used a little bit in melee to kind of chase away these laborers. Now getting into position to shatter this Death Shrieker, and they're immediately going to switch targets. Flying Taco very on point with his micro and not wasting any ammunition here, which is super important. But he is going to face some return fire from those Infernal Guards. Armor piercing of the Swift Shiver Shards is pretty good, especially with that higher volume of the double shot. They definitely have enough to get the work done against Infernal Guards, especially as they kind of kite away. The problem, though, with the Swift Shiver Shards is that lower range is actually shorter than that of the Infernal Guards, so you do run into some problems. But with the rockets being more or less shut down, I mean, there's still one online with some HP. Durthu can once again try and get some melee combat against these Chaos Dwarf Warriors. Yeah, looks like he's actually going to pull away there after having kind of overextended, arguably. That increase of the weakness to fire from the Flare Pistol definitely hurts, and that Death Shrieker lands there and shows why it's such a dangerous unit against Durthu. He's going to need to keep kiting with a little Lamentation of Despair, combined with a few Way Watcher volleys, actually finishes, just absolutely snipes the Sorcerer Prophet, and that's going to put the Wood Elves in a really good position here. These Dwarf Warriors immediately rout. Durthu pulls back to the safety of his forest here, and the local distraction was enough. So tactically, Durthu's been quite impactful here, and just in his presence alone, right? And it's pretty... It says a lot about Durthu that his presence alone can have such an impact on the battle, but certainly has drawn a lot of the Chaos Dwarf resources away and put them in a position to be taken out. These Way Watchers also have been stalked for a lot of this time, so it's not like the Chaos Dwarfs have had a lot of really good opportunity to respond, but I definitely would have liked to see them kind of forward pressure a little bit more, leading with the Chaos Dwarf Warriors with the back line of the ranged units, so that you hopefully have the Chaos Dwarf Warriors, if not absorbing more of the ranged impact, at the very least kind of continuing to pressure. Of course, they're not fast enough to catch up with the Way Watchers anyway, but at this point the Way Watchers are pretty much out of ammunition, using their last volleys here. They trudge through this algal swamp, so they're going to get in combat and start to fight these Dwarf Warriors. Obviously not a fight they're ideally suited for, but especially with the Branch Wraith nearby and the friendly fire from the rockets. Last couple of clutch volleys from that other Way Watcher, and of course the Tree Daddy Durthu himself closing the door. It's a lot, and those Chaos Dwarf Warriors are going to rout almost immediately. Looks like these Swift Shiver Shards might have the opportunity to shut down this Death Shriek, but to be honest, it's only got 2 rockets left anyway, so as long as Durthu can keep surviving, a little bit of Earthblood there to kind of pre-heal some of the damage he's going to be taking from those last few rockets. Hopefully will be enough to keep him on the battlefield. It is pretty close, but right now the balance power is flipped now to the Wood Elves. The Way Watchers having finished off a lot of critical units, and a lot of the Chaos Dwarfs, especially like once the Death Shrieker runs out of ammo, that'll probably affect the balance of power even more. Clutch block there by that tree. Durthu's homies coming in absolute clutch here as they help protect him from missile fire. Oh yeah, Durthu giving him a little high five as he runs past. And yeah, like I said, the Death Shrieker, the last shot is actually going to scatter shot into what's left of the Way Watchers, and it does a huge amount of damage to them, but it's not enough to prevent the Laborers and the Warriors from routing. Granted, there is still 30 Eternal Guards with about 700 HP, Infernal Guards, I mean. And they might be able to take Durthu out here, but Durthu's got 2,000 HP plus, so definitely enough. I was going to say meat, but that's not correct. Definitely enough wood left there to work with. And last march of Durthu, just so angry at having to hide in the trees the whole time, getting shot at by all sorts of nasty things. Death Shrieker, like, lining up for a little charge with the rocket mounted in the front. Oh, yeah. Durthu's definitely going to have his revenge here, no problem. Meanwhile, the Way Watchers, Swift Shiver Shards actually just rout the Infernal Guards and chase them off, so there you go. That's going to pretty much be it. I don't know, I guess there's one more Dwarf Warrior, a couple more Dwarf Warriors here for the Chaos Dwarfs, but yeah, Durthu feasting some value in this late game cleanup. As mentioned, the target priority here was very impressive, I have to say. Flying Taco being able to keep Durthu alive while simultaneously, you know, like managing the damage on him while continuing to combat the threats that face him. Eventually, once he gets them shut down in the late game, Durthu can emerge and finally finish this thing off. Even though the value here is going to be all carried by the archers, Durthu's still nice to have. Again, that distraction factor, pulling resources out of your opponent, and being able to kind of manage the damage on him with the healing looked pretty good, honestly, at the end of the day. The Wave Stalker also just so good. You know, if you have a Lord that can self-heal here, maybe you take double Wave Stalker, like even take the Ancient Tree Men. Durthu's definitely a better combatant, but the Way Watchers, as mentioned, they're going to feast value. Almost, yeah, 1797 here, 2157 here. Both the Swift Shiver Shards also get really nice value. Melee units for the Wood Elves generally have a tough time, but some of the Glade Riders, who managed to clean up quite a few Laborer kills, and just generally cleaning routing units. The Fire Glaives are all pretty impressive, honestly. Definitely a tough unit in this matchup, even with the appropriate counters, which Way Watchers certainly are. Still a force to be reckoned with. The Death Shrieker is also very dangerous. One of them was shut down pretty early, didn't get nearly as much value, but the one just goes to show how impressive they are against those tree units. The rest of the build is just kind of there, but yeah, getting that Sorcerer Prophet sniped when he did was pretty inopportune for this Chaos Dwarf player. Ended up kind of cascading into some more problems, but that's it. That's why you play the games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.